Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of my channel. Today we're going to try to compromise a retired Windows machine from HackTheBox. At the end of the video, you'll be familiar with enumeration of a Windows machine in an Active Directory environment and how to remotely gain access into a Windows machine, and finally, how to escalate your privileges from a normal user account to a system administrator's account. So, without saying much, let's jump into the challenge. The name of the machine is called Timelapse. So we have it here, Timelapse, and it's a Windows machine. We can see it from the Windows logo up here. And also, the machine IP is 10.10.11.152. First of all, we can add this IP to our host file. Let's go to our terminal and do that. So let's say via etc hosts. So let's call it timelapse.htb for HackTheBox. Okay, so let's see if we can now access the IP or the machine with the host name instead of the IP address. Let's try to ping the host name. So ping timelapse.htb. So we have some response. So it's showing that our host name has properly been added to the host file. Let's quit this and then clear our screen. Then what we'll do next is to do an nmap scan. So let's enumerate the ports on the machine. So with that, our nmap command is going to be nmap, and then we want to use a minimum rate of 1000 and then -sc to use default scripts, sv to enumerate versions, and then p-p. So this one we want to enumerate all ports. We want to scan all ports, not only the first 1000 ports. So in this case, we are scanning all the 65,535 ports. And then what next? So we use pn to skip host discovery, and then -v to show verbose output. So it will be showing the port open while the scan is going on, and then on to save the output of the nmap command into a file. Let's call it nmap all. So it will save the output into a file called nmap all, and then the last parameter will be the host name or the IP address. So it's timelapse.atb. So let's scan. So the nmap has started, and then we can see the ports are showing because of the -v. And this particular scan will take some time to scan. So because of that, I'll end it here. I did the scan already earlier on, so I'll show you the output of the earlier scan. So let's say nmap .back. So this is the complete scan. So after the scan is done, these are the ports that we have open. So we have port 53, which is DNS, 88 cables, 135, 139, 389 LDAP, and then we have 445, which is SMB port. We have other ports, another LDAP port here, and then this particular port 5986. This is a WinRM port. So here we have WinRM over SSL. So this is the secure WinRM port. So take note of this port because we'll be accessing it later on in the video. And then what else do we have? We have some high order ports as well below here, which are not quite useful to us. So let's go back to the top and see if we can find some more information from the scan. And then if we look at this particular LDAP port, the script enumeration, it has shown as the domain name. So the domain name is timelapse.htb, but we've already added this particular same domain to our host file. We can verify that. So if we cut our so we have it here already added. And then let's see if we can find other information here. Let's see. Okay, so when you come down here, we have something like hosts. Okay, so this is also a host name. So we can add a host name to our host file. Let's do that. Right. So it's DC01. All right, so that's it. I think that's all the information we can get from our nmap console. Now, I think we can close it. And then the port that we have open, we have LDAP, and then we have SMB. So mostly I like to start with my enumeration with the SMB port. So the SMB, that's where we can see shared files. Let's try to see if we can access some shares on the machine. So let's play here, and then we use SMB map. That's H, and then the host name is timelapse.htb, and then the user, you can specify anything as the user, AAA, anything, it will work. And then for the password, we don't know the password, so we can just use a null password. So it will try to do a null authentication into the server. So let's see if we can get some output. Yes, so we are able to get some we are able to see some shares here, and then their permissions. So this admin share, we don't have access to the C dollar. We have read only access to this IPC, which we don't need. So the interesting share we have to access is this shares. Okay, so this is what we have to access. So we can access this with SMB client. So SMB client, and then the name of the domain, timelapse.htb, and then the share. So it's called shares. So let's see if we can access this. We don't provide any password because we are doing a now authentication, and then we have access to the SMB. So let's see if we can see some shares or some files in the share. So if we list, and then we have a directory called dev and then help desk. So from hindsight, what we need to access is this dev directory. So we can cd into dev, and then we check what we have in dev. So we have a file called winrm backup.zip. So we try to download this or get it into our local machine. So we get winrm.zip. So now the file should be downloaded to our local machine. Let's go back and check. So if we check, we now have the file here. Okay, so we can exit from our SMB enumeration or SMB share. We can quit because we will not need anything from here again. So let's come back and then try to find out what is inside this zip file. We can extract it, try to unzip and winrm. So while trying to unzip, it's asking for a password, which we don't have any password, so we can try cracking the password. There is a utility called zip to John. You can try to use that to crack this password. So we use zip to John, and then we provide the file name, which is winrm, and then we are going to save the hash. We are actually going to be cracking the hash. So we save the hash to a file called hash. Okay, so if we see now, we have this hash file, and then we'll use John the Ripper to try to see if we can crack this hash. All right, so we say John dash dash word list. So the word list that we're going to provide, I think is user share word list, and then rockq.txt, the infamous rockq word list. That's what we're going to use, and then we can provide the name of the hash. You can provide the hash you want to crack. And then I think the cracking has been done already, so we go back, and then we can now use dash dash show. So this is the file, and then this is the password. So the zip file, the password is Supreme Legacy. Okay, so let's create some notes. Let's create notes with Sublime. So Sublime, let's call this Timelapse notes.txt. All right, so this is where we're going to be storing our notes, or saving our notes. So zip password, so it's Supreme Legacy. So the zip password is Supreme Legacy. So what we can try to do now is we can come back and try to now unzip again, since we have the password now. So winrm backup zip. So the password is here. We copy and then we paste. All right, so I think it's been able to unzip it. So if we list again, so this is the file now. So the file has been unzipped. It's called legacy dev.auth.pfx. So this is a pfx file. I don't know what pfx file is or what we can do with a pfx file. Let's try to see if we can open this file. So let's use xdg open to open a file manager, and then see if we can open this file. This is the file legacy dev.auth. If you try to open this file, you see that it's asking for a password to unlock. Okay, and then here also we don't have any password so far. There is no password. So if you don't have password to something, you try to crack it. All right, so we're gonna try to crack this legacy dev pfx file as well. So we have another utility called pfx to join. The other one was zip to join. So now we have pfx to join, and then we convert the legacy to a hash. So this time around, this is going to be our second hash. So the first one was hash, and then the second one we'll call it hash2. So let's see. All right, so we have the hash2 here. So we do same thing. Let's try to use join again. Let's see. Okay, so this time around, instead of cracking hash1, we are going to crack hash2. All right, so let's see. So the password has been cracked. So all right, and then looking at this output from the John the Ripper, you can see it's pfx p12 pkcs 12. So if you see PKCS, this is a public key cryptography standard version 12. Okay, so this particular PKCS will come in handy later, so we have to note that. So now we can go back and try to see if we can see the cracked password. So John dash show hash2, and then so this is the file name, and then this is the password. So the password is tag legacy. All right, so let's come back to our notes, and then pfx password is tag legacy. All right, so now whatever we have, the pfx file is password. So what do we do? So how can we use the password to actually see what is contained in this pfx? So mostly pfx files are PKCS files or public key cryptography standard version 12 files. So they contain certificates and then private keys. Okay, so they have public and private key, which can be used to authenticate yourself into a machine. Okay, so actually we can use OpenSSL to extract the public and then private keys from the PFX file. Okay, if you want to find more information about that, you can just type PFX. Okay, so if it's like PFX, over here they are telling you that PFX certificate export. So how to export certificates from PFX or PKC. So I'll say PFX export private key. So let's see what we'll get here. And then I'll use the OpenSSL site to see how we can export the private and public keys from the PFX file. So if you come here, they have given more information about the PKCS file. So the PKCS version 12 is also known as the PKCS 12 or PFX. Okay, that was the extension of our file. And then if you go down, scroll down, you can see something here, extracting certificates or private keys. So this is actually what we want to do. We want to extract the certificates. So let's use this first one. So this particular first command, let's try to extract something. Let's see. So here, OpenSSL PKC12 info. So the input file. Okay, so let's see. We have to change this one to suit our situation. So the input file was legacy. So this is our input file. This is our file. This is our PFX file, legacy dev. Okay, and then no set. So if you provide, did I delete something? No. Okay, so if you provide no set, so it means we are just going to get we can show the output here. So the password we provide is tag legacy. All right, so you can see that we have the private key. So if you provide no set, it's going to give you the private key. If you provide no keys, it's going to give you the set. Okay, so having this in mind, we can now know what to do. So instead of saving it on the on the terminal, we can redirect this to a file, and then we call this priv.key. So this will be our private key. All right, and then the password is already in our clipboard, so we just use it here again. And then now we are now going for the set. So set.crt, so that will be our certificate. So this time around, instead of no set, we are going to say no keys. All right, I think we should be good to go. And then we provide the password again, and then we should be good to go. So now we have our public key or certificate, and then we have our private key as well. So we can use this private public key to authenticate ourselves into the machine. Let's try and see if we can use this to gain initial access into the box. So what we're going to use here is evil-winrm. So we have evil-winrm. So if you don't know how to use this, you can just check the help. All right, so with evil-winrm -c, so if we put -c, you provide the public or the certificate, the public key or the certificate, and then -k, you provide the private key, and then you have to also specify the SSL switch, because our WinRM port was the one open on SSL. All right, so we have to add this particular SSL for it to work. All right, so what we do now is we use evil-winrm and then dash I. So the I is going to be our host. So timelapse dot htb. Is timelapse correct? Timelapse dot htb. So that's our host, and then our certificate we put set, and then our key we put pref key, and then dash s for the SSL. So this is what we have. Let's see if this can authenticate us into the machine. All right, it was taking time, so now we have initial foothold into the box. So we have a shell. That's good. So if we check who am I, let's see the user. So the user is legacy. All right, so let's see if we can get a user flag. So let's cd back. So type in the wrong command. I thought I was still in my Linux environment, so I like using the arrow command. All right. So let's ls. Okay, let's cd into desktop, and then dir. You can see our user dot text. So let's cut that. All right, so we have our user flag. So we're able to do half of it. So we have the user flag. So now what we have to do is to go and try and get the root flag. Okay, so what we have to do here is we have to move laterally into another user. So if you go back and check the users on the box, cd, if you try to check the users, we have administrator, legacy, public, sv, deploy, and then trx. So what we can do is if we try to check the PowerShell history file, we can see some credentials of svc deploy. Okay, and this particular svc deploy user is part of a particular group that we can use to get administrative access. Okay, so if you check the group of legacy, we cannot do much with legacy. Net user, sorry. If you check the groups, net legacy belong to remote management. So he belongs to remote management group. That's why we were able to use the WinRM, domain user, and development. So maybe some developer or something. So we cannot do much, but let's try to see for svc deploy. Svc deploy. All right, so for svc deploy, he belongs to this particular lapse readers. So this is very, very important. So let's see if we can capture his password from the PowerShell history file. So how to access that? Let me put this thing at the top. Let me do it at the top. All right, so how we can access that? Let's do cmd /c, and then we are going to cd into updater. All right, let's see if this works. If it doesn't, we have to find another way. So we want to access the updater directory. All right, where we have a roaming and other kind of folders. So this one, I think is trying to access the updater directory. It's delaying. Let's see if we can open another shell, so that while this one is delaying, we can just work on that shell. So we'll use evil-winrm again, -i timelapse.atb-c set dash okay, and then the system is slow. Okay, it's slow. Let me pause. Okay, I think it had to do with my connection. So the connection timed out, and then this one took a long time before I got a shell. So we can work from this particular pane, and then let's come back and see if we can open another shell as a backup. So okay, so we have the shell now. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to access the app data path. So I'm trying to use to invoke CMD from PowerShell. So let me echo app data from here. All right, so this is the app data environment variable. So it stores this particular path which we have to access. So all right, let's see what we have here. So we cd into Microsoft, I think Windows. All right, so we are in Microsoft Windows. DR, so PowerShell. So we are trying to look for PowerShell history files. So we go into the PowerShell directory, cd PowerShell DR, and then we have this particular file. This is what stores the PowerShell history file. So ps readline, and then it's also a directory. So let's move into the directory, see what we've got. lsodr, and then we can have it here. We have console host history.txt. Okay, so this is what we were looking for. So let's cut it and see what this file has. We have an error. Okay, let's see. Maybe I didn't put space after the cut. All right. So here, so if you check here, we can see convert secure string. So this is the password. All right, and then this is the user. So svc deploy. So we can add this to our saved credentials. So svc deploy. The password is here, this complicated password, so this couldn't have been cracked actually. So we have to find another way of getting this password. So we have it here. So we can now try to authenticate ourselves as svc deploy using winrm and then this password into the machine. So I have the password here, and then let me do it where. Let me do it on this pane. So let's exit and then clear, and then we use evil-winrm again, and then host 10.10.11.152. So this time around instead of the host name, I'm using the IP. It can also work. And then the user is svc deploy, and then the password. We use this password, and then we put this one as --SSL. All right, so let's see if we have access. All right, good. So now we are the user svc deploy. So if we check who am I, okay, so I'm now svc deploy, and then we check the group already that he belongs to, which is the labs user group. So the labs, that is local administrator password solution. So this particular labs, we can also check what labs does, or what we can do with a labs user. So let's say labs let's just check for labs. Okay, so what we have here from Microsoft official website, let's see the description of labs. Labs is a local administrator password solution, provide management of local account passwords or domain join computers. Passwords are stored in Active Directory. So as I said, we are in an Active Directory environment. So with this Labs password, you can use it to actually administer other password or other domains join in an Active Directory environment. All right. So let's see how we can get this Labs password, since we are also part of the Active Directory environment, and then we are part of the Labs user group. All right. So we can search for something like Labs dumper, because we want to dump the Labs, and then we can get a Labs dumper from GitHub. So the GitHub version of Labs dumper, and then loopy. So this particular repo, I think we can use this particular repo. So we git clone from this repo, and let's come back here. Let's come down here to git clone this. All right, so we have labs dumper here. So we cd into labs dumper and see what we have. So in labs dumper, we have some Python script. So this Python script is what is actually going to enable us to dump the labs password from the system. All right. So how do we use it? And then we can check what kind of Python version that. Let's see. Let's sublime labs.py. All right. So this is actually the file. This is the Python script. All right. And then let's see the print. So print in brackets. So this is Python 3. All right. So what we do here, we have to use Python 3, and then labs.py. So let's just run it without any argument and see. So it's showing us how we can run this particular script. So what we have to provide is username, password, and then LDAP server, and then domain. All right. So let's see if we can follow that. And then so Python 3. So the user name. So -u is svc deploy, and then -p. So the password, we have the password here. So we put this password, and then -l, so the domain, or LDAP. Okay, so this one is the LDAP server. All right, so the LDAP server, we can just use the machine name, timelapse.atb, and then the domain. I think that one was DC01. And let's not forget to put -d here as the domain. So let's see. So it's either interchangeable. It's either this one comes here. I think let's try it this way and see if it can dump. Okay, so it doesn't work. All right, so I think the domain is actually time. Let's make this one big screen. Timelapse.htb, and then the host is DC01. All right, so that was correct. So this is the LDAP server, and then this is the host. Okay, and then so we have the password here. So this is the labs password. We've been able to acquire the last password. So we say, come on, think yourself faster. So this is the last password. Okay. So what we have to do now is to try to use this last password to authenticate ourselves into the machine as the administrator. All right. So let's go back up, and then we can exit out of this because we don't need this particular user again. Now we try to authenticate ourselves as so the password here is now going to be our labs password, and then the user, instead of svc deploy, we're going to authenticate ourselves as administrator. Okay, so let's see if we can gain access as the administrator. Okay, so yeah, so we are now the administrator. If we check, who am I? So you are the administrator. So now what we have to go and do is to try and get our root file, our root flag. So let's cd users. Okay, so dir. So actually we would have been expecting to find the root flag from the administrator desktop, but it's not there. It's actually in trx. So for the sake of time, we just cd into trx. If we ls, then we cd into desktop dir, and then we have the root here, root.txt. So let's cat root.txt, and then we have the root flag. So that's the end of the video. We're able to compromise the system. We got the user flag and then the root flag. So we are now a fully administrator. We can do whatever we want to do on this machine. I hope you learned something from here, and then I hope to see you soon in another video. Thank you.